Hi guys, how are you doing? I just want to share a little tutorial with you, and it is brush control basics, and it's very basic here. I know there's a lot of guys that are they're always looking for, what's the best font to start with, or what's the best paint, what's the best thinners, and all that stuff. I just want to cover really just some brush control basics, and this is the very bottom of the rung where you should be starting. If I know a lot of guys, they want to do script, or they want to do gold leafing, they want to do that sort of stuff, and really you're not ready. You're not going to be ready for a very long time. What you really should be concentrating on are the fundamentals of brush strokes and brush control, so you can just do block style lettering, and that's really, if you can get this down, you can move on to the next level, move up to the next rung in the world of sign painting and hand lettering. And really all it comes down to is three basic shapes. You got your squares, your triangles, and your circles. Now I'm sure, this is a rocket science here. You can see that the letter O, very similar to a circle. An I, very similar to a square. The outer corners of the A, very similar again to triangles. This is very basic. So this is something that I want you to concentrate on, is practicing doing these shapes. And if I've got a 10-foot wall here that I can work on, but if you don't have a lot of room, then just do it in small sections, but do them, practice them, a whole sheet of squares, a whole sheet of triangles, and and really practice and practice as the story goes. The thing is, and then you're going to be asking about, well, paint consistency. That's going to come with practicing. I just lettered this up here, and I'm just using some one-shot poster paint. I just opened up a can that I found on the shelf there. I haven't probably opened it up in 2 years. It was fine. Mixed it up a little bit. She's good to go, and it dries really quick. And it's really, again, it's going to work the same way as the lettering enamels do, primarily. You're going to learn how to thin out your paint just by repetitive practicing. The more you practice, the more you get used to the paint, the more you're going to get used to how much to thin it. Every can you open up is going to be different. No two cans are the same. And I would start with maybe just pouring it directly in your cup, or if some guys work right out of the can, whatever. I'm not going to get into that, but just use it without any thinner. Then from there, see how it works for you. More than likely, you're going to have too much drag. I like to have a little bit of drag. I don't want it soupy. I don't want it dripping off the brush. From there, add some thinner to it. Just add a little. Some people, they have a little thinner on the outside, and they dip into the thinner, then they palette it in. I pour my thinner right into the paint most of the time. If I'm pinstriping, I use a thinner cup on the outside, and I dip into that thinner and work that in when I'm paletting. But when I'm lettering, I tend to just I thin out right in the cup and mix it all up. That way I've got one less thing if I'm lettering a truck or something, and I got the cup in my hand. Now you're also going to notice I'm not using a maul stick, and I'm left-handed, so that might be a little bit of a challenge for some of you if you're looking at what I'm doing and trying to figure it out. The guy that taught me, he was right-handed. The fundamentals are the same. It's just the opposite, I was born with a maul stick. This is it. So that being said, I'm just going to throw in a couple of strokes here, paint a little bit here. So I've got 3 different brushes here. So I've got a number 4 MAC 189. I've got this is a Luco, the blue one. I believe that's a Luco, and I don't know what number that is, probably a 10, maybe an 8. I've had it forever. This guy is a 1/2 inch one stroke, flat stroke truck lettering brush that I've had for over 20 years, and this, I think, is a Langnickel. Can't recall exactly. So out of these three brushes, you know, you're going to want to use the right brush for the job. Now this 189, that's what I use. This number 4 is what I use for that top lettering there. I wouldn't use this brush for this bigger. These are about a 3-inch tall square. The triangles there in the circle about 3 inches. I wouldn't use that because you're going to pull one stroke, and then you're going to be filling it in. You're going to have 40 brush strokes in there. That's unnecessary. You're going to want to get the right kind of brush for the job. I've seen guys, you know, they're using pinstriping brushes, and then they get a bigger brush and fill it in. No, you want to get as few brush strokes as possible, because time is money. And now certainly there's going to be people going, well, I'm not in it for the money, I'm not trying to do it, it's a hobby, it's not a job. I'm from a job standpoint. But still, you want to get through it and get on to the next thing and maybe get to the fun part. I know you're going to say this is going to be boring. It is boring. It's not. Practicing isn't fun, but you can make it fun. And if you can get through, and if you can, you know, set a challenge on yourself and try to get nice, clean lines, tight corners, because that's what we're trying to do here. The whole point of this exercise is to pull a nice straight line, start your corner in the right spot, finish your corner in the right spot. Each one of these, you know, it's all corners, it's all rounds, outside, inside, all that sort of thing. So the 189, the number 4, not going to use that one. So I could use either one of these. The 1/2 inch here might be just a little too big. So I'm gonna start with this Luco anyways. I'm sure I can make the 1/2 inch work, but just for the point of showing you guys, I'm going to use this Luco here. Okay, Jet, you gotta get out of here. Move. So I'm gonna palette in here again. I've already thinned my paint here. Might add a little bit more. And I'm just gonna start to I'll start with the one square. And the idea, so you're gonna want to chisel your brush too, right? Like you're gonna want a palette so that you've got a nice square chiseled brush. Because the idea is that you want to get up there so you can see it's squared. You've got this, see here, the bottom outside corner. You're gonna want that to be up in there. Bring it in, and then you're gonna twist so that it becomes straight. And then when you're coming to finish off your corner, you're gonna twist the opposite way so that it comes in straight and then out. I'll try and exaggerate that here. And I'm sorry if I'm blocked. I'm trying not to block here. Oh. So you can see how that's come off there in the corner like that. And then you can always, I palette sometimes right in the letter, that's what I'm doing here. If I'm trying to get that chisel, you can just palette right inside the letter or the shape, whatever. And there we go. So I got a little too much drag in that paint there. The one problem with using the poster paint is that it does dry up kind of quick in your cup or the can or whatever too, so. So again, I'm just going to palette in here a little bit and then so you want to get that corner started twist your brush to straighten it up, and then turn it again so that you can finish off that corner. Probably should have used the lettering enamel instead of the poster paint here, but you get the idea. I'm just trying to make a point here that these basic shapes here are what forms these letters. It's, you know, they're relatable. So if you can master these shapes, then you can move on to painting the letters. I just saw on Facebook a beautiful gasser. It was ruined because somebody had hand lettered it, and they just made up some letter style, and there was no consistency in it. It was awful. Ruined this car, in my opinion. And then they put a shadow on it, which they didn't understand shadows at all. And that made it even worse. So there's that. I'm gonna move on to the triangle next here. So again, I want the outside corner. I'm going to drop it in, and you got to kind of time it. I wish I could add an assistant here that could zoom in as I'm doing this. And then you just keep on twisting it until that bottom corner comes in. Okay, so there's that. And the circle is pretty self-evident there. And all I did to draw these circles, I just grabbed a roll of tape and just traced the inside of the roll of tape. You know, or grab a cup or something, make it don't matter. You know, you don't need a compass, or you don't got to try and draw it freehand. I think the idea is you're not going to do it freehand. You want to follow some lines and get used to consistently following those lines, especially for the rounds. Because when you're working your brush and you're turning it, and if you start turning too soon, you're going to see that you've missed the line. And you're going to know that where you've got some room for improvement. Now that's it, right? Yeah, boring, but get these down, then move on to the next level. And what I would suggest the next level being is then I'll I've got a circle template here. Put that, say, in there. Draw another circle inside. You know, paint the outside area. Same with the triangle. I've got a whole selection of these. These are just spacers. I call them. They're just all cardboard, all 1 inch, from 1/4 inch, 3/8, all just cardboard. You know. Here's a 3/4 inch one. I use when I'm laying out letters and I've got consistent vertical strokes. I just use this and move on. You know, H, and then so this. You know, you can just now you can start to create something that's got a little more what's the word I'm looking for? It's not as boring, right? But it's gonna be boring. But you, like I said, if you set some a challenge, you know, to see how many corners you can get nice and clean, you're gonna notice a difference. I really hope this is showing up properly and that I'm not wasting my freaking time. So that would be the next stage to go on, is to work on doing something like that. And you can also come in afterwards, you want to take another color, you could paint in these negative spaces. You can come in and paint the center of the hole, you know. If you really, you know, that's another challenge, right? You don't got to lay out, you're not going to waste more paper or something. You can still use, you can paint over the same bloody thing, you know, a number of times. But I'm just trying to get across a point here that if you're going to practice anything, this is really what you need to practice. It doesn't get any more basic than this. And you're going to learn the paint. You're going to learn what size of brush maybe to use. See, because for right now this brush is almost too big. If I go really flat on it, it's going to go outside. So it's a little brush control. It's going to go outside the line, the outer line there. So I just got to pull up on the brush. So I'm not, you know, you want to primarily you want to get it pretty flat, especially if you're doing a long straight line. But for this, I got to keep my eye on both sides of the brush right now. Okay, so I think this is pretty self-explanatory. If you can get these down, work at these for a month, you know, a couple hours a night, I'm telling you, and I've always said that if you draw 100 circles, the 100th one will be 100 times better than the very first one, if you want it bad enough. That's that. I hope this helps. I'm going to try and do a couple other videos with some other stuff, shadows, a few other ideas I've got. But that'll be coming down the pipe, okay? Hope it works. Thanks, guys.